Hello everyone, super excited. Today I want to showcase a small tutorial on how I animate some of my behind the scenes photos to hopefully stand out a little bit in the crowd of Instagram, so stick around. So hey, super excited to showcase this tutorial today. I'm doing it in partnership with my friends over at Industry Jump. Definitely check out their website. It's an amazing resource if you're looking to build crew members or if you're looking for, especially if you're traveling. So for me, I travel a lot. So if I go to another state, I don't know a lot of people there if I need to bring together a production. So it's an amazing resource to go in, just type in who you need. It's super clean, intuitive. I highly recommend you set up a profile or honestly just go over and check it out and see how simple it really is. It's a great way to connect to other creatives around you, and hopefully you get to make some new friends along the way as you work on these projects. So anyways, that aside, I am very excited to kind of break down into what I'm going to be doing here. I found that just posting just straight up behind the scenes photos is kind of interesting, but I always want to spice stuff up a little bit when I can to try to get people's attention. So without any further ado, let's get started. I would say I have a few photos that I've already picked out that I feel like would be a good candidate for what I want to do. Now, what I'm looking for is a good clean image of my screen. So right here we can see that this has a good solid image. I think I could cut myself out pretty well out of this image. I don't really like what's going on in the background because he has kind of a weird face. So what I'm thinking is I could use potentially this photo because he has a much better face, the musician. But for me, I can't see my screen. So what I think I'm gonna do is cut out this image and paste it into this image, and then we'll animate it from there. So without any further ado, let's get started. So I would say first off, we're gonna open in Adobe Photoshop. Okay, so now I have my image ready to go. What I want to do is I want to cut out myself out of this background image, and then that's what I'm going to be using to comp into the other one. So we're going to use my handy dandy pen tool, and we don't need to be super precise because we're going to be moving around a lot, and honestly, Instagram degrades your footage so much that it honestly doesn't, you don't need to be pixel perfect with this. So that's kind of a fun little tidbit to keep in the back of your head. You don't need to be overly detailed in what you're trying to accomplish here. So I'm probably going to fast forward because this will still take a minute or two to cut out everything using the pen tool, but we're just going to slowly work around the image and cut it all out. So when I'm all done connecting my pen tool, drawing all the way around, I want to right click, hit make selection, and from there we can just use one pixel for a feather. It's going to automatically feather out the edges, and then from there we're going to go bring our mouse down and we're going to click to the layer mask, and it's going to click on add mask, and when we do that, our background's going to disappear. So from there I'm going to zoom in and I am going to draw out the rest of this pink. And I don't even care about my cables in this, honestly. They're kind of distracting and it's just extra work to cut them out. So I don't even worry about them. I totally just eliminate the cables. Nobody seemed to notice before and they don't seem to care now. So, all right, so we're coming up here. We'll just connect the final mask here, and then we're gonna click make selection again, one, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna fill it in with black so it disappears. So I'm gonna use Command Backspace, and now we're good. Okay, so as you can see, we have my image cut out here of myself. So now this is set to go for what we need for the comp. So we're gonna save this as a PSD so it can be layered and we still have our background information. So I'm gonna call this me. Now we're gonna open up our next image, which is gonna be this background plate. Let's just do it this way. We'll open up in Photoshop. Okay, so now I have this image, which I really love, but I'm also in this photo and I don't like this angle doesn't work at all. I just need some solid pink in the background so when we place a new image over top that it still has some of the background plate behind it. So we just need kind of like a garbage matte behind this. It's really not too complicated. Usually this technique works pretty simply. So we'll see if this does the same thing. So let's just double click on our layer to unlock it. We'll click OK. And then all we're gonna do is we're gonna draw a selection around me. So I'm just gonna go up to my lasso tool. We'll keep it really, really simple. And we're just gonna draw around the part that we wanna remove, which is me. So let's just draw all the way around. And then we'll connect it at the top. We're gonna go up to edit. We're gonna go down to content aware fill. And from there, it's going to select from all this image. We can even see a preview here on the right-hand side, and we can see what it's going to do. And we can see this is honestly pretty much perfect. It's just going to be painting in a bunch of pink for us. So we'll click OK. And once we're all done, we can see, yeah, it's pretty much just a whole pink. We have a little bit here that didn't work just right, so we'll do the same thing. We'll just select the symbol, and we'll go back up to Edit, and we're going to go to Content Aware Fill, and it should, yep, and we'll click OK. And now you can see that it's all filled in and looking pretty. And now these are all in separate layers too, which makes it easy if we needed to do any adjustments. But honestly, for what we need right now, this is perfect. So from here, we're going to go ahead and save this file, and we're going to call this background. So now we have After Effects booted up, and we're going to pull in the images that we just made. Now for Instagram, we need to create the right dimensions for the file size. I like to make these sort of photos in a portrait mode because I feel like it takes up more of the screen and it's more interesting. It catches your eye better than just like a small landscape photo. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new composition, and we're going to set it up to the Instagram parameters, which is the width is 1080 and the height is 1350. And for length, let's just set this to, we'll set it to like 10 seconds. I think that should be fine. We can always adjust that later if we need to. All right, so now that we have this made, all we're gonna do is drag in our background, and we're gonna drag in me on the foreground. So let's select both of them, hit S for scale. We can scale them both down. Now, obviously, I'm facing the wrong way. So the first thing we want to do here is right click, transform, flip horizontal. So now I'm facing the correct way towards the artist, and you can see we can kind of place me anywhere we want. We're going to set this all into 3D space, so there will be some movement around. So we don't need to worry too much about covering up the lead singer's face, because it won't be that way as the camera kind of shifts everything around. All right, so next up we want to bring in the clip from the music video that I finished. So we're going to go ahead and import that footage. I already made a clip from it, and this is about 9 seconds long. So yeah, this will be perfect for our loop. And we want to bring this into our footage, so just drag and drop it. And I'm going to hit S for scale, and we're going to scale this down until it's roughly the same size as the monitor. And now I can zoom into my whole comp here. And I know everything looks pixelated and kind of crappy, but it will look better in just a little bit. So we want this to be roughly the same size. We can even grab these handles, but you can see it kind of squishes. So if you hold on Shift, then it'll scale appropriately. From here, we're going to want to go to, you can see I already searched for it, but it's going to be corner pin, and we're going to pull this in. And from here, you can grab the corners, and you can line the corners up with the monitor, so that here it kind of simulates the angle that that the original footage would have been at. All right, so now I have the video footage on top of my original photo. So that's fine, and that looks great, but the only problem is that now they're separate, so they're not actually linked together. So the quickest and easiest way to link them together is to go up to Layer, New, Null Object, and from here, we'll just slide this up to the top, and then we can click both the video footage and the layer of myself, and we'll click the little pick whip, and we'll bring it up to the null, and now wherever I move this null, it's gonna move both of us together. Okay, and so from there, we want to change everything in this scene to a 3D layer. So we're going to select them all, click on the little box to make everything in 3D. So now we can actually start to create that parallaxing and that separation to make everything look pretty interesting. So from here, what I want to do is take my background, and I'm going to go to click P for position and hold down Shift and hit S for scale. So I'm going to take this position and I'm actually going to push it back. So now the background is actually going to be further back in Z space. And then I can increase my scale to make it fit my image again. So all we did is we pulled it apart, but then we raised it and made it actually larger in scale so that it still looks like, to the human eye, it doesn't look like much has changed, but it is now further back. So from there, we can go ahead and I'm going to create a new null object, and this is going to control everything in the scene. So I'm going to call this one camera control. And what I want to do is I want to pair my first null object that's controlling me and the footage. And I'm going to click, first let's make it a 3D layer. Then we're going to click the little pick whip, bring it up to camera control. And then I'm going to grab the background layer with the little pick whip and bring it up to camera control. So now if I hit position or Shift and R for rotation, now you can see as I start to play with my rotation that there is actually some parallaxing happening in the background. So that's where the 3D, it starts to simulate 3D. As you can push in, you can see everything's overlapping. As you go left to right, left to right here, you can see that now we're starting to actually simulate 3D. Okay, so next up, I'm gonna do a little bit of keyframe animation to tell my camera when to move in and when to pull out. So pretty simple. So we're gonna start right here on the wide shot as the footage is playing through for a little bit. And then after a few seconds, I'm gonna go ahead and click position. And after a few seconds, we're gonna then move in. So I added a stopwatch for the keyframe. We're gonna move ahead a little bit, and then let's go ahead and zoom into the image. I don't really know how far we wanna zoom in yet. And then we can move it. Let's see, try to line this up. Good, so we can see the camera zooms in, boom. Good, they're playing for a little bit. And then we're gonna go ahead and hit another keyframe and then move ahead along. And then we're gonna go ahead and copy and paste its original keyframe. So right here, Control C, Control V. So this will bring us back to our home screen again. So now if we click play, once it ran previews, you can see we're pushing in and then we're pulling out again. This is great. It all probably needs to happen a little bit faster so it has a little bit more flair and it feels a little bit more exciting. So I'm gonna move these keyframes closer together. I'm also gonna select the keyframes and I'm gonna hit F9, which is gonna make them easy in, easy out, which would make a little bit smoother of a transition. You can see we're in and then we're back out again. This is perfect. So our whole animation can definitely be faster. So I'm going to bring in my handles so that this whole thing isn't quite as long. Okay, so now we have the basic move set, and now we just need to add a little bit of flair to make it seem more interesting as the camera's moving around. So what I like to do is I go over to the orientation and I can click Alt. It's gonna be Option or Alt, depending on if you're Mac or Windows. And you can click on orientation. We're gonna type in an expression. We're gonna type in wiggle. And we're gonna do, let's go maybe 4x4. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So now you have kind of an organic, like handheld, like somebody's pushing in, recording behind the scenes of the behind the scenes. Okay, so from here we want to do a couple of things. One is we obviously need to add some motion blur so everything feels a little bit more organic. So we can control everything, click on the little motion blur button, and you can see this will toggle it on and off, this button up here. It eats up a lot more of your computer's resources to have it turned on. You can see it doesn't play back very smoothly. So I usually leave it off when I'm editing, unless right here I want to just test it out and make sure that everything is doing what I want it to. So yeah. When we do a final export, we'll make sure that it's toggled on, but for now we can leave it off. Okay, so one thing to think about when you're comping things together is to match your black levels. Right now we can see that the footage is a lot darker than the background image. So one thing I want to change with that is I can go over to my curves and I'll drag a curves adjustment layer right onto my footage here. So now we can obviously have a lot of control. I just want to go ahead and raise up my dark levels just a little bit, my blacks, so it matches a little bit better what's going on in the scene. The other thing about what's going on here is you can see there's a lot of blue in my shadows. So I want to add some blue as well. So I'm going to toggle this down to blue. I'm going to create a couple of little keyframes here and I can slide it up to match a little bit better. Awesome, so we're getting a lot closer. Now I'm gonna go to my green channel and push that in a little bit. Okay, now the final thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit of noise to match the noise that's happening here. You can see there's grain kind of all over this, all over the footage or all over the photo, and there's none on the footage. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of noise to match. So we're gonna type in noise and we're gonna go to noise and add it and maybe 10%, let's see. All right, cool. There we go. So now it's matching the same amount of noise that's in the background image. So now this blends way better and looks way more organic and looks like it's really there. Okay, and also our pinks don't match exactly perfectly. So we're gonna go to our hue saturation and we're just gonna knock that down just a little bit, just to make a match just a little bit better. I'm gonna push it a little more yellow. There we go. Nothing too complicated, but now it matches just that much better. Okay, super. All right, so now the two images match, and simply all I'm gonna do now is do a global adjustment for color so that everything kind of blends together a little bit better. So we're gonna go to adjustment layer, and we're gonna put that at the very, very top. I'm gonna go to curves, and now this is like totally up to your to your own personal taste, like how much you wanna edit this, how much you wanna do. I mean, you can make it look really crazy or push the colors a different way. I'm just gonna kind of do a general S curve just to make the colors pop a little bit. Maybe push up my grays just a little bit, make everything match. So yeah, I'm just gonna fiddle around with these just a little bit until I'm happy with how they look. Yeah, maybe punch the greens a little bit more. Good. Go on the blues. So the final step we need is, as we've pushed in, the background should get out of focus, because as you're pushing into an object and focusing closer and closer, the background should be getting more and more out of focus. So in order to achieve that, it's gonna be really simple. We're gonna click on our background layer. We're gonna go up to Gaussian blur, make this nice and easy, drop it down, and now we're just gonna create a couple of keyframes that match the keyframes as we're zooming in. So right now we'll just go ahead and click blurriness is at 0, and then after we're all the way zoomed in, now we can bump this up to whatever we think looks good. So yeah, let's maybe go like 65, that looks cool. And then the inverse, we're gonna go ahead and create another keyframe as it's about to zoom out. And then when we're at the end, we're gonna click 0. So we're back to 0%. Let's go ahead and select everything and click F9 so that it goes in and out smoothly. And now if we turn on a motion blur and RAM preview, we should be good to go. Bada bing. So yeah, not too bad, right? I mean, it's simple, but I think that it's a lot of fun, and it's another way to just try to stand out in the crowd a little bit, put a little extra TLC into something on the back end so that it just grabs people's attention more. So yeah, that's it. It's super easy. It's fun. It's not too complicated. It adds a little bit of extra spice to whatever you're posting online. For me, it's fun with behind the scenes photos, because behind the scenes photos are kind of interesting by themselves, but I feel like this elevates it. It makes it just something unique, and now all of a sudden it's almost a little piece of art in of itself, and it's not just a boring photo. So yeah, hope you dug this. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully you can follow along. If you make this, I would love to see it, so definitely tag it or send it over to me. I'd love to see it. I've included the working files so you can recreate off of what I've made, but of course I'd love to see what you do with your own photos. So yeah, let me know what you think. I appreciate you sticking around. Thanks again for Industry Jump for asking me out to put this together. Yeah, until next time, stay happy, stay creative.